how do you believe feminism should be defined, and do you think it can be reconciled with conservatism?
Well, so yes and no. It depends. There's first, second, and third wave feminism. First wave feminism is that women should have a right to vote. Second wave feminism had a lot of problems, which is the female liberation movement, that women should not just be at home, but they should get into the workforce. Third wave feminism is complete garbage, which is toxic modern day feminism, which is irreconcilable with any decent society, which is far more about hating men than actually respecting women. And you guys all know the type of that kind of feminism. There are some good aspects of second wave feminism, but at the core of feminism, we have to ask the question is, has it made American women happier? And it hasn't, actually. American women are more suicidal, more depressed, more anxious than they were prior. And I believe, and again, we get in trouble for saying this, is that you should have the agency and liberty to do whatever you want. But many women, a majority, like 90+% deep down, have this urge to reproduce and to raise children. And we are telling them to forsake that and go become a CEO of a shoe company. And we're wondering why so many young ladies are miserable and angry, because they're at war with something within them that they actually want to do, which is to have a relationship, have children, and nurture future humans into this world.
I would like to propose an alternative perspective. I'm conservative, but I'm also a feminist, and I think that a better way to propose feminism in the public media would be not to eliminate having children and tell women that they shouldn't have children, but to figure out your career first before you decide to settle down, because you can't really undo that once you have kids.
So I think it's the exact opposite. I think you should have kids first, then do your career, because which one has a timetable on it?
True, but once you have kids, you're committed to that, and you can't really have as much of a career, so you should kind of define your I guess what I'm trying to say.
Kids are way more important than being, a data scientist at Dropbox.
But okay, what if you don't want to have kids?
That's fine. Then go do it. You're risking that you might end up super miserable. And that's what we're seeing, is that we have seen a spike where half of women in their 30s that are unmarried are on antidepressants. Half. We've never seen a spike like this. And again, I'm not saying that's the only reason, but we've never, ever seen a generation or a group of people so angry, so miserable, so medicated. And there's obviously something wrong. We know who are the happiest women in America. Women with 3 or more kids are the happiest women in America. Least suicidal. Yes, right? And by the way, it's not easy, but it's super deep. And so again, if you want to go be a data scientist, God bless you. This is country's free country. Go do that. I just think that there's a part of the story that isn't being told, which is that the opposite should be have kids as soon as possible, and then you can go pursue your career in your late 30s once your kids are 18 years old. And it's the opposite. We tell people, wait. And by the way, when you reach your 30s, you might be infertile, you might have trouble having kids, you might need IVF, you might need all these other very, harsh treatments, and you might not even find a mate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very
all I
much.
had.
Enjoy class. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Blair. Just got a question for you here. How do you feel about the black community receiving reparations?
I'm against that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, why so?
Well, first of all, what is the black community? So, for example, do you mean recent immigrants from Haiti or Nigeria?
I do not. No.
Okay, for sure. So you're meaning ancestral descendants of slaves.
Correct.
That
Yes,
could
sir.
be proven with documentation.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. So to be consistent, do you believe that other groups that have been mistreated in America should also receive reparations?
What are those other groups?
Well, they're not necessarily by America, but let's just take one. Jewish Americans, right?
Okay.
They almost got eliminated in the Holocaust. Should they receive reparations?
Not from us.
Okay, not from us.
Not
but-
from the United States, that is.
Okay. So here's my view, and I want to hear yours,
Okay.
which is that I did not own slaves, and you were not a slave.
Correct.
Right. So we are individuals, and therefore we cannot be held accountable or should receive something from something that didn't happen to us or something we did not do. That is a basic law of justice, that I can't be held accountable for something that somebody looked like me did, and you should not benefit from something that somebody you were related to. Now, you'll probably say systemic racism and how that passed down through generations. Happy to address that. The problem with reparations, though, is basically what you're saying is, I'm going to take money from Charlie Kirk for something he didn't do and give it to a group of something, to somebody of something they also didn't do. For what reason? How is that just?
So not so much how is it just, but there are those arguments that says because of what happened in the past, this group of people have been negatively affected from this nation's crimes against humanity to that certain group of people. And that's how we see it, or how some people see it, if you will.
Okay, sure. But I will say that even if there is some truth to that, which I wouldn't even be willing to grant very much, because Black America was doing incredibly well before the not incredible. They were pacing to be even richer than white America. Is that we must look through the question of is it just and moral to take from one group, especially first and second generation immigrants that had nothing to do with this. So think about it. Your tax base would be taxing, like, if anyone here is Irish or Polish and your family came 100 years ago, we would be taxing people that had nothing to do with it. And I'll go a step further. My family fought on the Union side of the Civil War, right? So you're going to be taxing Charlie Kirk, whose descendants fought to free the slaves, to go give money to people that were descended, from slaves. So what is a way that we could try to help all communities? Here's maybe we can find some common ground, right? Instead of reparations.
Sure.
Is that we need to break the cartel of public sector teacher unions, allow school choice to occur, and make it easier for people of all backgrounds, but specifically Hispanic and Black individuals and young kids to have a quality education, because a good education in K through 12 is one of the most assured ways that they'll be able to succeed later in life. Secondly, we need to put fathers back in the home.
Yeah, I agree with that.
70% of Black kids are raised without a stable father in this in the country. So if we can find common ground on that, I think that would go a lot further than just giving cash for people that happen to be related to something evil that happened a little while ago.
I recently moved from Canada, and I can say one thing. America is great. Canada is screwed up. And I'm wondering, because obviously if Kamala's elected, I think we're going to be Canada 2.0.
Yeah, that's right.
What would you do if you were Prime Minister of Canada right now?
I would deport Justin Trudeau the first day in office. That guy sucks. Canada's a real problem, man. I mean, because I would basically allow Alberta to become its own country.
I lived in Alberta too, so
yeah. Edmonton or
Calgary.
Yeah, the two best parts of Canada are Edmonton and Calgary. Beautiful country too. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Canada's a really screwed up country, and it's a self-hating country, as you well know, that prides itself on being polite. And this is a great lesson for those of us in the West, that your favorable characteristics of being polite, nice, and welcoming can also be your downfall. And you know that in Canada, right?
Yeah.
Super polite, okay, we're just going to allow a bunch of foreigners to overrun our country. Super polite, we're not going to allow anyone, we're not going to have free speech. Canada's got a big problem. It does not have the Constitution, so you do not have robust free speech protections. You do not have Second Amendment protections, so the government is able to do whatever they want. I wouldn't want to be Prime Minister of Canada. I wouldn't last very long. But between Ottawa, Toronto, and Vancouver, you have some of the most liberal cities on the planet, as you well know. Canada, I think, is bringing in like half of its population in the next decade in immigrants. It's just not sustainable.
I know.
It's too bad. It was a once great country. Canada has fallen.
I know. I'm thankful that I moved here, though.
Do you have a U.S. citizen?
Yes.
Oh, good for you.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I was born in America, but then I moved to from California.
You won the lottery.
I know.
God bless,
All
man.
right,
Thank you.
so
Glad you're
much
here.
for your time.
Thank you.
I want to talk about like gun control.
Gun control.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
So I know, like, we have a Second Amendment. We're like protected owning like firearms.
Yes.
As a gay person, I often fear of like retaliation, hate crimes. I've actually been mugged a few times, wearing stuff that may not seem as normal as this.
Okay.
What can we do from like a Second Amendment perspective to like help bring people into like the folds of like gun ownership in order for like self-protection?
Yeah, I think that's a thoughtful question. I mean, look, I think if you've been mugged and everything, like, I'm sorry that happened to you. The gun's the great equalizer, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that people like you need to speak up and be like, look, if you think you're going to be terrorized or you're going to be hunted, like, a gun is a moral right to be able to defend yourself and your liberty, right? And your family or your people you love. I mean, I suppose it'd be a better question for you, right? Like, what do you think that a majority of gay people are pro guns or anti? I'm just curious. Like,
mostly anti-gun.
Why do you think that is? I'm just curious.
I think it's a lot of like liberal identity politics. How can we like bridge that like disconnect?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that, look, I don't think gun ownership should be political. I don't. And like, this is one of the arguments I always make for like BLM people, right? It's like, if you think you're getting hunted down, then like responsibly own guns, right? But there is a fear around gun ownership in America. I think it should transcend, sexual persuasion or skin color, right? I think it's a moral right for all people, especially if you think, especially women who are, potentially at a physical disadvantage from defending themselves, right? And I mean, you got mugged a couple times. I don't know if the person who mugged you is a man or a woman. I don't know, but like if you were in a situation where you're physically disadvantaged, like a firearm could equalize that, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty like out there.
Is it taboo, like tactic almost?
Yeah,
or?
like I'm very like, no, go for it, like get into a girl. But then it's also just kind of like not really, I don't want to say like frowned upon, but just kind of like, whoa, that's a bit much from like someone like me. But I just thought I'd ask.
Well, I want to encourage you, like, don't let that get to you.
I'm much more like pro gun ownership and like Second Amendment type.
Yeah, okay. And that's because of necessity, like basically what happened to you, or just...
Yeah, but also just more of like, you know, community defense, I would say.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think people should be like shooting each other on the streets or like dueling, obviously.
No, I don't support that, obviously.
I know,
Right, yeah.
But like, it's definitely something that I think that like a lot more like LGBT people should really take into account, just to protect ourselves and like you said, people.
Yeah, look, I totally agree. Like, I mean, if you believe you're being targeted or you're in a marginalized position, like, that's what the Second Amendment is partially there for, right? I mean, one of the reasons. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you because you're like a very big like political person.
Yeah, I would just kind of take it from a moral argument too, right? Which is like, if you believe, like, who are you going to trust to defend yourself? That's what I would take, right? So it's like, if you trust, do you trust the police, which obviously is not a big thing around here, right?
Yeah.
Do you trust, like, you know, I don't know, someone that you think will hurt you, then the moral argument of the Second Amendment is that you should be responsible for your own autonomy and your own, you know, your own safety, right? There's other reasons too, but.
Okay, well, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thoughtful question.